And so I will let her introduce herself. Amber?
Hi, I am the campaign and project manager for Livermore, Indiana, the Commission for Higher Education, and I will be working closely with the coalitions moving forward.
Good. So we're really happy to have to be working both with Allie and Amber. We very much want this to be a wonderful experience for the counties, but also this gives the commissioner a chance to hear from people in the field, which is always a wonderful, wonderful experience. So very pleased to have both Allie and Amber here. And let's go ahead and we'll mute them and unmute Ashley. Ashley, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Ashley Weiss. I'm getting feedback. I can hear myself talking. Sorry. I'm Ashley Weiss from Benton Community Foundation and the Benton County College Success Coalition. And we're a very small rural community, about 8,500 people. And so we're really just trying to get everybody fired up about college and that it's necessary. We've been working with Ivy Tech to get a site here, and so this is just one more thing we can bring to the community to raise awareness and get them engaged.
That sounds great. And if people are not following the Coalition Facebook page for Benton County, it is wonderful. So lots of good information coming out over their Facebook page. I always like to share that with other counties as an example because just a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of information going out. And they have a lot of followers for their Facebook page. So okay, I'm going to mute Ashley and Carol. Carol, can you hear me?
Hello? Yes.
Okay.
And I've got Chris with me as well.
Okay.
I'm Carol Hagedorn. I'm with the Perry County College Success Coalition, and my paying job is the Perry County Development Corporation. We do economic development.
And I'm Chris Hollenden. I'm the assistant principal at Tell City Junior Senior High School. And Carol really runs the show. I'm just kind of here to look good and do my part.
Well, since we can't see you, we'll trust that you're looking good.
Thank you. Yes, please trust it. Absolutely.
Okay, very good. And I guess the other thing before we start, I should probably introduce myself. I'm Sue Reynolds. I'm the Executive Director of the American Student Achievement Institute. However, in this role, I'm working as an intermediary for Learn More Indiana in setting up the coalitions and also these summits. So it's a pleasure. We will be doing summits this spring and summer in 4 counties. So we're working with 2 of them now in this call. So basically what we wanted to do is just kind of go over the format of the summit and just go over the applications, some of the things that we've really thought were important as you're planning the summit, and look at timeline, and then give you a chance also to ask any questions that you might have, both to me and with Allie and Amber on the call. Be able to talk with them representing the commissioner would be wonderful too. So I'm going to scroll down here on the screen to the basic agenda. We've did one set of summits last year. This is similar to the agenda that we used last year, but a little different. So what we're thinking is that as you, in our vision, as you're opening your summit, we're thinking that somebody from your College Success Coalition would do an initial welcome. And you'd be welcoming the people in your community. And then you'd be also talking to them from a local perspective about why it's so important to increase college access and success. We're happy to work with you individually on what you might include in those comments. However, the way I'm thinking about it is, if you remember back to the very first workshop that we did with y'all, we presented an introduction to CSC, and in that included some slides on the rationale for increasing post-secondary access and success. So we can send you those again if you need them, or you can just download them from the website as well. So, but we're happy to follow up with individual discussions with you as you get closer and you start to put some thoughts together for that. Then the other part that we'd really like you to drop into the opening is the college access and success goals that your coalition and member organization have already developed for your county. So we think this just gives you a chance to share those goals not only with potential member organizations who might be at the summit, but also with the commissioner, so that she knows that you've looked at baseline data and that you've got very concrete targets both for college access, college completion, and then also the percentage of adults in your community who hold a post-secondary credential. So we want CSC to be data-driven, so we'd like to drop those goals right in the beginning of the discussion. And then finally, we thought it would also be good right in the beginning to talk about your county's targeted concerns, so or your root causes. As you went through the initial process with us, and then as the follow-up, we looked at a whole lot of data that helped you understand as a county what might be getting in the way of college access and success. So, it might be the kids don't do campus visits, or they're not talking to their parents about college, or they haven't submitted the FAFSA, or they're not taking rigorous courses. So you have that already done, those concerns that you've already identified for your county. So kind of in the opening to set the stage, we're just thinking that you would do a discussion of the rationale for why college is important, and then your county's goals, and then the concerns that your coalition is targeting on and working with member organizations to address. So that would kind of set the stage. And then Commissioner Lubbers would do kind of a mini state of higher education address, but also in that talk about some of the initiatives that are happening at the state level that they would like the coalitions to be aware of, but also that we're trying to build bridges for. For example, that well, actually it's Amber at Learn More is working to build bridges with the media point person on your steering team. So the commissioner will talk about the initiatives that they're doing at the commission, and then also how we can coordinate what's going on at the commission with what you're doing in your counties. So in that part of the agenda, it's kind of a time for the commissioner to talk to you and your member organizations. And then the next part of the agenda takes the discussion the other way. This is a place for you to highlight some of your member organizations that are doing good things, and to let the commissioner know about your local work. So we'll get in a minute. We'll look at who might be good panel members. That's something we'd like you to think very, very carefully about, and we have some suggestions for you. And then finally, at the end, would just be an informal discussion between the commissioner and you guys and your member organizations. As we attended these last year, I think that is the richest part of the whole program. The commissioner is very good at facilitating discussions, and it really gives her a time to learn as well as you guys a time to learn. So it's just been a great a great opportunity. One of the things that we would suggest to you in that section, just to make sure that the discussion gets going, is, you know, and sometimes when we get to that part, everybody's really shy. So if you have some of your steering team members or some of your member organizations that have thought ahead of time what questions they might start out the discussion with, and have that kind of in place, that's great, because after one or two people ask questions, then everybody takes off. But sometimes it just kind of gets us beyond that initial shyness of people. So we'd have a few questions planned already. So then I'm going to, well, let me stop there and see so far if we have any questions. If you do, if you can just raise your hand, there's a little raise your hand icon in the control panel, and then I'll unmute you, and we can go from there. Actually, let me let's just unmute people. Ashley, anything you want to ask? Ashley?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so far so good. And let's check in with Carol and Chris. You guys okay?
I think we're okay so far.
Okay.
Yep.
That's great. And Allie, let's see, anything you want to add?
No, not this time, other than I'm really excited for the commissioner to be a part of these things and to actually get to talk one-on-one in the communities.
Great, great. Okay, let's go on. Wanted to look at the assurances that you all have agreed to. And in the last email that I sent, since we notified you a little bit late on the fact that your county was selected, we've backed up some of these dates, and that was in the last email that I sent to you. So basically, let's kind of walk through the whole process of getting this summit set up. And again, this is based on the 8 summits that we were involved in last year, but then also in doing all of our initiatives, just some tips that we've learned over the last 20 years about setting up local events. So the very first step that happens is setting up your local location. We gave you a deadline for that in our last email. And then also a means for RSVPing. One of the things that we want to be able to do right away is to work with the Commission in posting the dates, locations, and RSVP instructions for all 4 of the summits. So even if your summit isn't for a couple of months, we still would like you to get the location, the date, the times to us, and then the RSVP instructions so that we can get that all posted. I think the deadline we gave you was the end of next week. So if you could get the location done and then just figure out how you're RSVPing, that would be super. If you need help with an RSVP, we can set up for you an electronic RSVP, so people would just come in and register for your local summit using our website. We can set that up for you if you like. I think when I talked with most of you, you already had some RSVP tool that you could use, or somebody that was willing to take phone calls or whatever. But let us know if you have some questions about that, and we can help. So very first step is secure a location, and then set your time, your firm time, and then your RSVP means, and get that information to me. You can just send that to me in an email, would be great. If you write summit in the subject line, that would really help me as I'm going through all the millions of emails I get every day. It would know what that was and what I needed to do with it. Okay, so then the next step is participating in this conference call. And then 4 weeks prior to the summit, we are suggesting that you send, and again, we have 20 years of experience in getting this kind of thing set up, and the process that we're giving you is one that local organizations have told us works really well in making sure that you have good attendance. So 4 weeks prior to the summit, we're suggesting that you send a written invitation to the people that are listed there. So all of your mayors, all of the legislators in your county, the Economic Development Council presidents, the university presidents or chancellors that are in your county, all of your school superintendents, your school principals, and key business leaders. So if you know, especially if you have large businesses or really just your key businesses, you might check with your Chamber of Commerce or your Economic Development Council to explore with them who those people might be if they're not already involved in your coalition. So we're sending them a written invitation. We can provide for you, if you'd like, just let me know kind of a template or some talking points that you might include in that, or a sample. You know, we'd be happy to provide that for you. Okay, so then you're sending that letter out, and then a week later you're following that letter up with a phone call. So a week later you're calling the people and you're just confirming, did you receive the letter? Do you have any questions? You know, do you think you might be able to attend? So then we're calling them. Okay, so so that's the invitational part to get the participants at your summit. Then the next part is focused on getting the panel members in. So we would like you to secure at least 4 member organizations to serve as panel members, and not more than 4. One of the things that the commissioner is really good at is that at the end of the panel, she'll kind of paraphrase what each of the panel members have said. So if you ended up like 8 panel members, it's just too much. It gets too unwieldy. So we want to secure 4 member organizations that'll be panel members. And the other thing that is really important to get across to these member organizations is that you'd like them to talk about one activity that their organization has implemented or plans to implement to promote college access and success. And what we're trying to do here is to show the commissioner what the local things are that you're doing, but then also to show the other people that are in the audience who are not member organizations yet the types of things that they could do. I really want to emphasize that it's one activity. One of the things that happened in the last set of summits that we did was that there would be a panel member who, instead of talking in depth about one activity, would just rattle on and on and on and on and on, listing the 13 different organizations or different activities that their university did or their school did. And it doesn't really, you don't really get a lot of, I don't know, a lot of flavor and enthusiasm when you're just doing a laundry list of all your activities. So what we're really hoping, and I think would help you really pull in more member organizations, would be for one of your activities, one of your member organizations to really talk about how cool one of their activities was, and if that passion can come out, that would be really neat. So the thing we're thinking then is, of the 4 panel members, at least 2 of the member organizations would share activities that they began as a result of their involvement in the coalition. So, you know, I'm sure that as you met with your member organizations to talk about what could they do to address your targeted concerns, you know, people thought of things that that their organization could do. And I should emphasize too that these don't have to be like huge activities. Remember, what we're trying to do in your county is to just blanket your county with activities. So, you know, it could be just the example I always give, a Boy Scout troop that talks about driving their kids through a campus on their way to a camp outing, and how they talk to the kids about post-secondary ed. So it doesn't have to be the panel members that are, you know, have these big, humongous projects. It's just folks that can start to show the whole community that, you know, we're blanketing the community with all of these different activities. And, you know, really our goal is that no matter where kids turn, there's somebody talking to them about post-secondary ed. So, and then the other thing, of the 4, we, one of the things that happened in the last 8, and that I think we can do a better job at, or a different job at, is that in the last 8 there were some counties where every single one of the panel members was from an organization whose primary mission was related to college access and success. And so in those counties, I think it was hard for a grocery store or a church leader or a business to see the role that they could play in your coalition, because the people that they were listening to on the panel were all from organizations whose mission it was, whose primary work it was to do college access and success activities. So we're kind of thinking that of the 4 panel members, if at least 2 came from folks that were implementing things that they designed after they joined the coalition, and if at least 2 are from organizations whose primary mission is not related to college access and success, that will kind of show the people in the audience that this is about building a movement. It's about building a network, a local network. It's about blanketing your community with all these different groups that are talking to kids about college access and success. So that's kind of what we're thinking about with your panel members. And again, as you start to think this through, we are available if you want to brainstorm or call us, and we'll touch base with you along the way as well. But we are always available if you want to bounce an idea off of us as you get going with this. Okay, so I'm going to just stop there real quickly and see who has questions before we go on to the next steps. And I see Allie. Allie, let me unmute you. Okay, Allie.
Hi, Sue. So I'm just curious, this may be my first webinar with this platform.
Uh-huh.
When it says raise hand, or when I type a question in the box, do you see that? Can any of the other members see that?
Yes, I see it. I'm not sure if everybody else sees it, but I do, yes. And the questions that are typed in the box, if it's when I'm talking and looking and everything at the same time, sometimes I miss those. So, but I usually stop every 4 or 5 minutes and just ask, just catch up with any questions that come up.
Yeah, perfect. And I will type them in the box so that way I don't forget. The biggest thing that I want to make sure that everyone knows is that sometimes it's harder to get an RSVP from someone because they don't realize.
Ellie, let me interrupt you real quickly. We're having a little bit of trouble with the volume. You're clear, but just very soft.
Is that better?
Much better.
Wonderful. The thing that I want to make the most clear is that if you need, I don't want to use the word pressure from the commissioner, but if you need an invitation directly from the commission or Teresa to make the people in your county respond in RSVP and really feel like they're a part of it, please just let me know. We can easily have an email sent out. The commissioner has been such a vital part of Indiana and the Indiana political system that she has contacts all over the state. And so it's really nice when she can make that connection for you. And so if we can utilize that, please let us know. That's really all I've got.
Oh, Allie, that is wonderful. And where I could see that really playing a part is in inviting the legislators and maybe the university presidents, or I think that would be great. So, and maybe some of the larger business leaders, that would be super. Thank you so much for that.
No problem. The only thing I can think of is that we would need to know at least 2 to 3 weeks out of the people that have not RSVP'd that you would want direct contact with the commissioner. And we don't need their contact information. We just need their names and the information for the coalition for the actual summit. Yeah, we would love to do that.
Okay, that is wonderful. So I'm just going to add a step in here, and then I'll resend this to everybody. So 3 weeks out, we are going to let Ellie, I'll go in and I'm just going to type a little note to myself in here, let Ellie know if you'd like for Commissioner Lubbers to send an invitation to a specific person. Okay, great. Got that in as a step. Okay, any other, I don't see any other hands, so I'm going to assume that we're good. Okay, So, moving on then. Okay. Let me see, did I skip any steps? Nope, we're good. Okay, so then as we get closer, about 3 weeks prior to the summit, we'd like you to send the following things to our staff, or to me, so that I can go over this with you. One is just a copy of the actual agenda that will be distributed to participants. This we're doing a little bit differently. I'd like to do a little bit differently than we did last year too. What I'd like to see here is the actual agenda that you're going to hand to people that will be distributed at the event. So if I know as a presenter, I always like to see that ahead of time so I can kind of put in my mind what people are seeing before I start talking. So I'd like to see it, if you would send us the actual agenda typed up exactly like it's going to be when you pass it out. Then also, in addition to that, we'd like to see a detailed agenda that includes any other notes that you would like to include, such as the names of everybody that's going to be presenting and the positions of all presenters, maybe a couple little notes like on your panel members about the topic or the initiative that they're going to be talking about. Also in the introduction, if there's, I think it would be very, very helpful to the commissioner especially to know what your county goals are and what your targeted concerns are, so that as she's looking to prepare her remarks, she kind of knows where your county is going. So if you can get that to me 3 weeks ahead, and then we'll make sure that we've looked over it, had any discussions that we need to with you, and then we'll get that to Allie so she can use that when she's talking with the commissioner. And then also a paragraph describing anything that you would like the commissioner to know before she gets to your county. For example, I'm thinking of one of our counties right now that I know they've decided to sponsor a 5K this spring to fund some of their work. And so, it'd be nice if, I would think they'd want the commissioner to know that. So in her remarks, she might be saying, hey, y'all, sign up for the 5K or whatever. Or if there's any issues, if there's any hot spots in your county that are sensitive, we'd want to make sure that the commissioner knew about those ahead of time. So that information is just so that the commissioner and we kind of know what you're doing. We've got the actual agenda that's going to be passed out, and then the detailed agenda with names and positions and topics and a little bit about content, and then anything else that you want us to know or you want the commissioner to know. Okay, so that's 3 weeks before, and then 2 weeks before is when we suggest that you start your publicizing with the media. So we'll provide for you some sample media releases that you can use locally, and so that we want you to hit that with newspaper, radio, TV, flyers, any listservs. Really, in our work, we found that the best way to go out with information is to ask people to spread the word via their listservs. That way, people are hearing from somebody that they know and trust that this is a really cool event and they should consider going. So we're suggesting that you do that 2 weeks prior to begin with. That means that before 2 weeks, whoever's going to take and be in charge of your media stuff will need to be putting together a list of, who am I going to contact, what are their email addresses or their mailing addresses, or, the names of the key people in those organizations that you want to hit. So we're suggesting the initial one goes out 2 weeks ahead, so that we can, and in that initial one, basically it's save the date. Please come. We get on people's calendars 2 weeks ahead, and we're good to go on that. And then moving on, 2 days before the summit, we'd like you to send us a list of all of your registrants and the organizations that they represent. And again, that helps us be knowledgeable, but we will also share that information with Allie so that the commissioner knows who's going to be there. And again, I tell you, the commissioner is so talented. She will actually tweak her remarks so that they are specific to the people in your audience. And it's just impressive to watch her. So we need to get that to her a couple days ahead so that she has a chance to do that last tweaking on her remarks. And then the other thing that's going to fall in here that you won't need to do, but the commission will also send out a press release a couple days before the your event from them, letting people know that the event is happening. So folks will get the initial information from you and then information from the commission. And let me just unmute Allie really quickly and see. Allie, do you want to add anything about that press release or what I said previously about the 2 weeks? I know this is your area, so this is your expertise.
It is. When it comes to the press release, the areas that we want to highlight will actually the information will come from you. So if there's something that the coalition is doing that is specific to the mayor, politically, universities, or just an area that your coalition wants to highlight, we want to highlight in the press release. If there's any way that we can make it so that media can show up to your event, I mean, that's really having the commission and the commissioner are interested in giving your county and your coalition the maximum amount of positive exposure. And so the more information you give us for the press release, the better off we all are.
Okay, and when do you want that information, Allie, for the press release, for your press release?
If you can give it to us 2 weeks beforehand, we will compile it, get it to the commissioner for her approval, along with a quote from her, and then send it back to you before we send it out. And that can actually, you can let us know how large of a scope you would like on that. We have media contacts for the entire state. We can just do your county and the surrounding counties. And that's really up to you. We can make the contact for the coalitions for your particular county as large or as small as you want it to be. But we need to know the scope of what you're interested in. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and tell me again, in terms of the first thing that you said, in this information that you're sending you want them to do the scope, but also give you a heads up on, you mentioned the mayor's office, how this applies to the mayor's office, and
if they're doing something specific, I know that in Bedford, the mayor there was extremely excited about the coalition. She was working directly with them. And I believe her name was Shauna, and when we showed up, the commissioner did not know how involved the mayor was, and now she and the mayor have made a connection based on that site visit in Bedford, but we could have potentially made that connection before the visit.
okay.
So if the mayor is involved, if you have a university near you, and you would like, so I know in Avon, they have a new community campus, or they have a community campus for Ivy Tech. It would be very easy for the commissioner to ask the chancellor, for Dr. Lee, for Indianapolis to come out for the Central Indiana region. It would also be very easy for us to get a quote from Dr. Lee. And so that's what I'm trying, I guess that's what I'm trying to convey. We can make it as big or as small as you want it to be, press-wise.
Okay. So I'm kind of typing this in as you're talking. Okay, so basically the scope, why do they want this to go out, which I assume would be their county, but maybe not. And
Make it statewide. I mean, I can send this to every television, radio, public radio, newspaper. college newspaper, I have the ability to send it to every media person who is signed up with my media directory in Indiana.
Okay, cool. Ellie, the other thing that just pops into my head, and for everyone as well, we have about, let's see, about 20, 25 counties left that do not have coalitions, and it might be really nice to publicize in the counties that don't have coalitions that are next door to where we're doing these summits. And then our staff as well could call some key people in those counties and say, come hear the commissioner talk about the coalition in the county next door to you, and consider starting one in your county next year. So
that's up to your staff, but for these specific coalitions, I want to know, the thing I want to know is how big do they want their county publicized. If they just want it to the key business owners in their county and they don't want it publicized beyond that, that's up to them, and then your staff can make the decision to send that press release to other counties. I'll leave that up to your staff, but
okay.
I'm just speaking to these counties.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, so then that takes us up to the day of the summit. And this is, these are kind of no-brainer things that I'm sure you would have thought of, but just making sure that the following are available: a podium, a panel table that will seat the 4 panel members, microphone, refreshments that are optional. The coalition interest sheets, will provide those for you, so that we'll provide you a template so that you can tweak it however you want to, and then pass that out to non-member organizations to encourage them to join. The one other thing, the day of the summit, if your venue is huge, let's say that you're in an auditorium that's going to seat 1,000 people, and you're expecting 75, 100 to attend. One of the things that's really nice is if you can rope off the seats in the back, so that it kind of forces everybody to, or just put reserve signs on them so that nobody sits in those seats. That forces everybody to be up close to the panel and to the commissioner when she's speaking. It just, as a presenter, it's a lot nicer to have everybody kind of grouped together and for eye contact purposes, so you aren't looking at one person way back in this corner and another person way back in that corner. So that would be helpful. And then the last thing is that after the summit, the summit has several purposes, but one of the main ones is to recruit new member organizations for your coalition. So after the summit, the final step is that any interest cards that you receive during the summit, that you would follow up with them, answer any questions that they have, and then encourage them to join the coalition in your county. So I think that's it. Let's see what questions we have. Allie, first of all, anything else you want to add?
Nope, this sounds and looks great, Sue.
Okay, good. So let's just check in with everybody that's here. Ashley, any questions from you or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
The first one is this okay for us to have a coalition member sponsor the summit?
Absolutely. Yes. And we've had that before, and that's wonderful. That's the beauty of having these coalitions, because everybody brings something different to the table. And if one of your coalition members has funding that they can bring to the table, perfect. Of course, we'd want to know that ahead of time, and in the information that you send to Allie, prior to the summit, we'd want to make sure that the commissioner knew that, so she could, possibly acknowledge that as well. But yeah, perfect.
Okay. And then I have one more. We have a couple special things. We have some grants to give to our members, and we're going to launch a 529 giveaway.
Oh, cool.
So when would be a good time to put those in the agenda? It wouldn't take very long.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I think I would do it. When does it make sense for you to use? Let's go back up to that agenda. And I mean, I have kind of my thinking where it would make sense to me, but as you're looking at the welcome, the remarks, local activities, discussion.
Maybe in the closing, announce the 529 giveaway.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. That would be good. The other thing, since that's kind of an activity that your coalition's sponsoring, the other thing you could do is after you hear from the panel members up in this section, you could say, and there's one additional activity we would like to talk about, and then make your announcement there or at the end. I think either place would be fine.
Okay. And then I thought the grants after the panel.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, the other thing I'm thinking about is that if you were to do it here in the local activities, if you were to do it in that section, then that would give the commissioner a chance to say something about that activity as well. Yeah, yeah. That would be good.
That's all I had.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Carol, how about you and Chris?
I think we have targeted a venue which holds around 100, but in looking at our guest list and some of the things you've mentioned, we're curious, does this definitely have to be open to the public? Because during the day at a noon hour like ours is going to be, we're a little bit concerned about capacity.
I guess I have mixed thoughts. One is, I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with doing an event by invitation only. My hesitation, and I'll see what Ellie thinks about this as well. My hesitation is that one of the purposes of this is to increase your member organizations. And if you are able to open it up, then you might end up with some new member organizations that you wouldn't have gotten if it were by invitation only. On the other hand, I can see one of the pros of doing it by invitation only is that if you're serving a meal, that way, you kind of have a limit on what your expenses are going to be. So let's see what Ellie thinks. Ellie, what are your thoughts about that?
Can you repeat the last part? You kind of got soft on me, Sue.
Okay, sorry. The question was in Perry County, they're a little concerned that this is going to become, there are going to be so many people there that it will become unwieldy in terms of the size of the room. They have a room that will seat 100. And also, I'm assuming also the budget that they have for lunch. What do you think about doing, if a county were to do this by invitation only, so they didn't publicize it to the public, it was just people that they had, the 100 people that they had targeted to attend?
When it comes to events...
And again, you're really soft, Ellie, sorry.
No, that's okay. We seem to be experiencing a sound problem today. It's okay. So the thing with that is you can always expect at least 15% of the population that you invite that RSVP that say that they're going to come. You can always guarantee that they're not going to show up. That's everything from last minute cancellations to unfortunate car accidents to, I mean, those things happen. And so unless there's something that would prevent, there are some counties right now that have some really hot buttons and some hot issues going on when it comes to education because of their legislators in session and those kind of things. My recommendation from an event standpoint and a public relations standpoint is to make it available to the public. Do an RSVP up to 100. If the room seats 100, RSVP up to 150. And then if the room only seats 100 and you're worried about that from a lunch or a budget standpoint, and lunch doesn't have to be offered. Refreshments can be provided. I mean, it does not have to be a full, we don't want this to be a burden on the coalitions to have these summits financial-wise. So my recommendation is if you're going to do an RSVP, always plan for more than what you're expecting and allow for that. And then so plan allow 150 people to RSVP, but plan for 100 for lunch.
Okay.
Okay, I think that sounds good, and you know, good point too, that you don't want this to look exclusive. So, you know, having it be open to everyone, that's probably a good idea. And then you can limit it by just limiting how many you allow to RSVP. Okay, great, good.
And you don't have to, the best thing about that is if you say the first 150 that RSVP will receive lunch, you don't have to tell the people as they RSVP, well, you're the 149th RSVP. I mean, you can have 200 RSVPs or so on and so forth. And as long as no one has an allergy for lunch and you have a vegetarian option, you should be okay.
Okay.
If you have any questions, please contact me directly about your specific summit, and we will walk you through the process. Absolutely.
Good. Carol, other questions?
No, I think that's the only one we had.
Okay, that sounds great. One other thing came to mind as Allie was talking. I think one other thing that we always recommend, and I just neglected to put it in here, is that depending on how many people you have registered, one of the things that in all of our initiatives when we're bringing community folks in, we find that a phone call the day before to remind people to attend and just ask them if they have any questions or need directions or whatever, that is also just it really helps to increase attendance. There's something about talking with someone on the phone and saying somebody, not in an email, but voice to voice, that yes, I'm coming, that then makes it difficult for them to not attend because they feel more obligated. So so that might cut down on some of the percentage that, for whatever reason, don't show. So, okay, that sounds great. So we will be getting to you some resources, some templates for press release and a letter of your initial letters for the summit. And if you have any questions, we are here to help you. You just had an offer from Allie to do the same thing, which is wonderful. And in our organization, I am the point person for this initiative. So just call me directly and we'll go from there. So thank you so much for participating. And again, if anything comes up, please don't hesitate to give us a call. So thanks, everybody. Yes?
Sue, will you send out my contact information, including my cell phone, to everyone on the call today?
Sure. That sounds great. I don't know if I have your cell phone, Ellie. Do you want to just give it to all of us right now?
Sure, 317-869-9696. You can reach me. I will be the one traveling with the commissioner to every summit, and so feel free to text or to call. I will be in D.C. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, but I will be working, so feel free to contact me. But other than that, I'll be in the office every day.
Wonderful.
Can't wait to make these successful.
I think we all feel like that. That's wonderful. So thank you so much, Allie, and Allie really is, and Amber too. Both of them are just joys to work with. So please don't hesitate to give them a call if there's anything they can help you with, and then same for our organization. So okay, sounds great, and we'll talk to everyone at a later time. Have a wonderful sunny day. See you. Bye-bye.